have now reached 500,882, 468. 460, as I had alluded earlier, recovered and discharged, while 121 are the deaths that we are currently having as the statistic. Well, the United States of America, a superpower, actually there's a time the United States was registering very few cases, but as you can see, it is now leading, and Spain is following. The third country which had a real scare was Italy, but it has been able to mitigate some of the damages that the coronavirus had done. France, Germany, UK, China. Actually, this is one statistic that you need to watch out for China, because after the lockdown on Wuhan and later around to other areas, we have witnessed that some of isolation centers and even some of the quarantine areas have been fully closed, but they are still registering a number of cases. Of course, in Africa, South Africa is leading, with Egypt also following keenly. Kenya did start its mass testing today, and the report read today. The CSS report today did show that they did talk about this is when we will know exactly the situation that we have here in Kenya. But all this and much, much more, let's have a look first at the highlights.
Last 24 hours, fellow Kenyans, we have tested 694 samples. Out of these samples, 8 have tested positive for coronavirus disease, bringing the total number of confirmed cases in the country to 216.
Government to embark on mass testing of the general public in a bid to contain the coronavirus pandemic, with 216 people infected.
On record, about 5 Kenyans who have succumbed not necessarily to COVID-19, but who have died in the last month and who have underlying causes that could have made them susceptible to COVID-19 conditions.
5 Kenyans succumbed to COVID-19 disease in the United States as the government steps up efforts to track infected Kenyans in the diaspora. And pump prices for super petrol and kerosene reduced by 18 shillings, signaling lower cost of living in the wake of the coronavirus outbreak. My name is Njue, and my co-anchor on the bottom of your screen is Byron Abuli, who will be handling the sign language interpretation. Remember, you can keep in touch at Njue at KBC Channel 1. Remember, the hashtag to use is NewsHour. Straight to the news, and the government says it will in the next few days embark on a mass testing exercise in efforts to contain COVID-19, as the country's total tally topped 216 Tuesday after 8 more people tested positive for the virus. Health Chief Administrative Secretary Dr. Mercy Mwangangi said the move follows the risks around profiled clusters, and at least 21 counties have reported cases so far. Our health reporter Purity Museo with that report.
The government says despite the measures it has put in place, the country is still witnessing a phenomenon where the COVID-19 virus is increasingly moving to counties. 8 people tested positive for the coronavirus out of 694 samples analyzed within 24 hours, leading to Tuesday, bringing the total number of confirmed cases in the country to 216.
In the last 24 hours, fellow Kenyans, we have tested 694 samples. Out of these samples, 8 have tested positive for coronavirus disease, bringing the total number of confirmed cases in the country to 216. 5 are Kenyans, and the other 3 are of different nationalities, foreign nationalities.
Health Chief Administrative Secretary Dr. Mercy Mwangangi said 6 cases emanated from mandatory quarantine centers, while 2 were picked by the ministry's surveillance teams.
6 have a history of travel from Dubai, the UK, Pakistan, Zambia, and Comoros. The spread of the new cases with regards to their counties of residence is as follows: Nairobi, 6, Siaya, 1, Nakuru, 1.
It is in this regard that the government will embark on a mass testing exercise, especially in risk profile areas.
In Nairobi, for instance, we shall prioritize the quarantine centers, hotels, isolation facilities, and hospitals. These form our top 4 priority in Nairobi.
According to the CAS, some 12,000 testing kits will be deployed to target areas in the next few days.
In Mombasa, we are deploying 1,000 testing kits to Kenya Ports Authority, KPA. And this is based on the risk of transmission that has been identified from our monitoring teams.
A total of 2,331 contacts have been monitored, out of which 1,729 have been discharged. 602 others were being monitored. 21 counties have so far recorded cases. Nairobi has 101, Mombasa 34, Kilifi 10, Kiambu 7, Mandera 6, Machakos 6, Nakuru 5, Kisii 1, Kitui 2, Laikipia 2, Kajiado 2, Murang'a 2, Homa Bay 1, Kakamega 2, Nyamira 1, Nyandarua 2, Nyeri 1, Siaya 2, Uasin Gishu 2, Vihiga and Kwale 1 case each. As the country struggles to flatten the curve regarding spread of COVID-19 across the country, the elephant in the room is now the emergence of cases of gender-based violence. The country has now reported 3 times the number of cases than before.
And we also want to remind everyone that the law has not been suspended and that it will catch up with those who commit violence on others during this period.
Purity Museo, Channel 1 News, Nairobi.
5 Kenyans have succumbed to the deadly COVID-19 disease in the United States, with the Kenyan embassy in the country awaiting post-mortem of an official who passed on last week to ascertain the cause of the death. Foreign Affairs Principal Secretary Macharia Kamau says 2 other Kenyans in Germany and Sweden are still in the ICU due to COVID-19 complications. This as the government says it is stepping up its efforts to track Kenyans affected by the coronavirus globally.
As the number of coronavirus cases and fatalities continue to soar locally, the government says the picture outside the country is fairer, according to reports from various embassies across the world. So far, 5 Kenyans living abroad have succumbed to the virus, with all deaths registered in the United States.
On record, about 5 Kenyans who have succumbed not necessarily to COVID-19, but who have died in the last month and who have underlying causes that could have made them susceptible to COVID-19 conditions.
According to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, 5 had underlying conditions and might not have died necessarily of the dreaded COVID-19.
Ms. Ruth Anyango Ogonda passed away in Los Angeles on Friday, the 10th of April. She was taken suddenly ill. She had some underlying conditions, high blood pressure, difficulty in breathing, and she was rushed to hospital, but sadly she passed on. We are waiting for the autopsy to be able to determine the cause of death.
The ministry has, however, said no Kenyan deaths have so far been reported in any other countries, including hotspot countries of China, Italy, and Spain.
The best news I can give you is that we have very few Kenyans who are infected. And those few who have had underlying causes. Yani walikuwa na ugonjwa mwingine ambao ulikuwa unawasumbua. Sasa COVID ilipowashika, ilikuwa vigumu sana kuwatibu.
Despite calls from a section of leaders for immediate evacuation of Kenyans living in China due to recent hostilities melted on them by locals, Foreign Affairs Principal Secretary Macharia Kamau says the government is weighing every available option.
Of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, urgently to provide an aircraft that can airlift Kenyans willing to go home who are in China. It is their right.
It's unfortunate. But I think all the assurances that we have now received from the Chinese government tell us that this is not something they want to continue to tolerate, and that they are working very closely with the regional, it's like county governments. They're working very closely with the regional governments to ensure that they adhere properly to the regulations that are in place.
China, through its ambassador to Kenya, Wu Peng, has however said that the situation has been arrested and addressed and that measures have been taken to protect Kenyans living in China. Benson Njue reporting for Channel 1 News.
And the government has begun mass testing medical practitioners and staff working in health facilities for the novel coronavirus. The exercise was launched at the Kenyatta National Hospital, where at least 400 medical officers were screened. And according to Health Principal Secretary Susan Mochache, screening will first be conducted in all medical facilities with special focus on first-line responders of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Tuesday at the Kenyatta National Hospital, medical officers from different departments queue, awaiting their turn to be tested for the novel coronavirus. The medics' names are first registered for separation samples. Their body temperature is measured before samples are taken from the nose and mouth. Health Principal Secretary Susan Mochache, who launched the mass testing, noted the government says priority will be given to staff in the health sector.
Tunajua kwamba wakati mwingine yaweza kuwa kwa bahati mbaya mtu aweze kupata virusi hivyo. Kwa hivyo sasa hii program imeanza, wafanyakazi wote katika hospitali hii, wale ambao wako katika Mbagathi Hospital, wale ambao wako katika Kenyatta University Hospital na mahospitali zetu za county wameanza kupimwa. Na hii imewezekana kwa sababu tumeweza kupata vifaa ambavyo vimerahisisha kazi ya kuchukua sampuli kutoka kwa watu.
The Ministry of Health hopes to test 500 medical officers daily before the screening is scaled up to the general public. However, one of the challenges noted with novel coronavirus testing is the long duration it takes for results to be known. This has seen the government procure machines that will give results after 3 hours of testing.
Kenyatta hospitali peke yake ina uwezo wa kutoa sampuli 3,000. Na tukiweka pamoja na zile mashini zote ambazo tuko nazo katika nchi hii, tunaweza kuangalia sampuli zaidi ya 3,000 ambazo zinaweza kutufikia kutoka maeneo tofauti.
Suleimanieri, Channel 1 News.
Kenya is yet to meet the requisite standards of manufacturing the personal protective gear to fight the coronavirus. The Ministry of Health is yet to approve the quality of the equipment to be manufactured locally after an initial assessment today at one of the designated textile factories failed the set standard. And according to medical practitioners who toured the export processing zone in Athi River, the prototype produced was not waterproof and therefore needed modifications.
With preparations for mass production of personal protective equipment for health workers currently on the forefront of fighting the coronavirus pandemic underway, Kenya is readying itself to produce medical protective equipment. But the country is still running behind in meeting the required standards, and the prototype on gears such as coats, coveralls, scrubs and aprons are not of approved quality.
We are happy with what they have done, but the only gap is there is slight penetration of water. And that is not a big deal. That is something that can be done within a very short time.
The surgical and community masks manufactured here have been approved, as the samples for the other gears await modification before approval for mass production.
Medical practitioners say the demand for the personal protective equipment is rising by the day, as one PPE is required per patient being attended to at the hospital.
Our main mission is to ensure that our people are safe, our clinicians, our health workers are safe. That what we can do is to expedite the process so that we finish this process as early as possible.
The government says that the community masks will be available only to vulnerable communities.
But targeting informal settlements because again, we are cognizant of socioeconomic realities in this country. And therefore, the government is seized of the matter, is very much aware of it, and as soon as they are ready, they will be distributed, but not to each and every one of us. Let that be clear to everyone.
This comes as the government reveals that one full kit of PPE for a health worker costs about 20,000.
Because the suit itself now is about 15,000. Now, when you add the goggles, which are going for about 3,000, then you add the gloves, which are about 150, and you add the shoes, so you're looking at a disease that is so expensive to manage.
But with the demand for community masks also rising, the hygiene of the masks on the streets is said to be worrying, with Kenyans being warned against fitting the mask before buying, as it poses a risk of spreading infection.
All of us are really out there making masks even in our own homes, and I think this has to come out. It has not been addressed fully, but we need to do this. But hiding masks with your dirty hands, we've seen even some at the supermarkets where somebody comes and tries and finds it's too small and puts it back in the lot.
Those that live by each day, and we must be, as a government, be conscious of that. And therefore, we will not go to the streets to look at which masks are being, vended by who. But we are asking our people through you that everybody must be conscious of the type of masks that they are actually, buying.
Already 3 textile industries located in Athi River, Kitui and Nakuru have been identified for mass production of the PPEs. Kamche Menza for Channel 1 News.
Moving on, and now to gratitude. And as our country continues to fight the invincible enemy that is coronavirus, we must register our eternal gratitude to our frontline battalion. We thank our healthcare workers, our security, defense, and administration sectors, all people of goodwill, and those who show solidarity in this fight. Thank you all for your commitment, patriotism, and sacrifice. We shall overcome. And as I said earlier, let's keep the faith. Moving on, 6 people, including that story is not yet ready. We'll be bringing you much later. And to the corridors of justice, Catholic priest Richard Oduor will spend 2 more days in custody on charges of knowingly spreading the coronavirus. The prosecution had requested the court to remand the clergy for knowingly traversing the country instead of subjecting himself to self-isolation as had directed by the government for those who were jetting into the country on March. We are taking a short, quick breather, but we will be right back with more news, including business and sports, at about 16 minutes past the hour.
Remember, ukitaka kustay safe from coronavirus, lazima ufuate hizi steps. 1. Osha mikono kila time for 20 seconds, hata unaweza imba happy birthday mara 2. 2. Usishike uso, macho na mapua yako, especially kama hujaosha mikono. 3. Ukitaka kucough, utumie tissue alafu utupe kwa dustbin ama ucough kwa elbow. 4. Avoid kuenda mahali kuna watu wengi ama kusalimia mtu na kuhug mtu. In case usikie uko mgonjwa, please ambia parents wako ama guardians wako. Let's all stay safe.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
Never say never, Mr.
Just pray that you don't fall into temptation.
Hey, Wasi Solomon. That is the third time you said pray today. Are you okay?
Of course I'm okay. Why wouldn't time be?
Guys, nowadays we have so many unfaithful people. So for my money to be safe, I must be one of the officials.
Ati nini? Over my bonding, that can never happen.
What are you guys talking about?
Looks like teacher is worried about his health. He's not sure he will live long enough to witness something extraordinary he'll be doing in the future.
Classmates, every Saturday on KBC.
And welcome back to my earlier story. 6 people, including a Kenya police reservist who were killed by alleged Al-Shabaab militia at Gorof Harar in Wajir County, have been buried, with locals seeking answers from the government. Residents in the area claim security officers are yet to be dispatched to track the attackers 24 hours after they struck, firing at will. Area leaders led by Wajir Governor Mohammed Abdi have condemned the killings, vowing to soldier on in fighting the militia.
Dozens in Wajir ignored the social gathering directive by the government to attend the burial of 6 men killed by Al-Shabaab militia at Gorof Harar area last night. The 6, including a Kenya police reservist and 3 others who are nursing injuries at Gorof Harar sub-county, are said to have been ambushed by militia on Monday. The killings eliciting criticism from area leaders who are accusing security officers of abandoning locals at the time of need.
Watu wameuawa, hawakupata support kutoka national government. Ma security forces ambao walikuwa hapa karibu walikuwa wakisikia risasi, hawajapatia hawa support. Na hiyo ni kusema ya kwamba wameshindwa na kazi.
Wajir Governor Mohammed Abdi lamented that despite the presence of 4 military camps, residents were still suffering in the hands of Al-Shabaab.
We have 3 camps, a KDF camp in Konton. We have another camp in Qarsa of special forces. We have equally another special forces in Kutulo. And this group were housed right in the middle of those 3. And there were no attempts to flush them out. But these young men took the courage to go and smoke them from their area. And that's how they died.
With tension high in the area following the killings, area leaders are vowing to soldier on fighting the militia, calling on residents to remain vigilant and be ready to protect themselves.
Leteni report ya hawa Shabab, sisi ndo tutadili na hawa. Na vijana muwe tayari kabisa. Kutoka sasa hatuwezi kusema ni national government wala nini. Sisi ndio tutakuwa mstari ya mbele kufanya kazi na nyinyi na kupatia nyinyi ile msaada mnataka, na muwe tayari kulinda nchi yenu.
Al-Shabaab have no religion, neither are they based on any religion. These are criminals in our midst, and we must flush them out. The killing of these gallant officers will not hinder us to take them where they belong, and we are going to take them where they belong. And we should not be deterred by those killings. We are there to protect our people, to protect our property, which we have as Kenyan citizens.
Ben Chumba, reporting for Channel 1 News.
And still on matters security, 2 police officers in Magarini, Kilifi County have been arrested for allegedly threatening to shoot border operators who had refused to part with bribes. Magarini OCPD Elisha Cherono says the 2 police officers, one from the Critical Infrastructure Protection Unit and his colleague from the National Police Service, were caught on camera confronting the operators who had refused to abide by their demands. Take a look.
2 police officers will spend in police cells in Magarini for allegedly threatening to shoot border operators, transporting charcoal for failing to agree to pay bribes. This is after a video went viral on social media showing one of the officers pulling out his pistol and aiming at a group of bodaboda operators as he demands for bribes for freedom.
Na kama ataenda huko arudi tena hapa, tutaakti pia sisi kama wananchi. Hata kumwona arudi tena hapa mara.
According to Magarini OCPD Elisha Cherono, the two police officers are from CIPU and National Police Service. In the video, an officer known as Crispus Katana, popularly called Kunguru, who is the driver of the sub-county AP commander, is seen confronting his colleague not to interfere with his work as he was on duty. Cherono says investigation is ongoing before any administrative measures are taken. So far, one of the officers has been interdicted. Deputy President Dr. William Ruto had shared the video and ordered the arrest of the officers. Local leaders, including Magarini Member of Parliament Michael King and Member of County Assembly Ranson Kambi, condemned the police for constant harassment of bodaboda operators, particularly those transporting charcoal.
Jambo hili la dhulma la polisi katika kituo kile cha Marapa haikuanza leo. Kwa sababu tunakumbuka kwamba mwaka jana kuna kijana ambaye alipigwa risasi. Kijana ambaye anaitwa Juma Shanga. Vile vile alikuwa ni muuzaji wa makaa.
Sasa hawa maofisa ambao wamechukua jukumu ambalo wanasimama kwa barabara na kuchukua rushwa kwa hawa vijana wetu ambao saa hii hawana kazi ya kufanya.
Bajaji hao nao pia kazi ni hiyo hiyo. Hata wakati mwingine mnafukuzwa mbio tu huko barabarani tayari. Hiyo ni kama ni kazi yao. Maana wewe ukionekana tu tayari wewe unapambana nao. Hata mimi tayari najua kupokewa gunia moja.
Reporting for Channel 1 News, I'm Timothy Kipnoso.
Parliament resumed its sittings on Tuesday, a month after interrupting its calendar over the novel COVID-19 pandemic. Social distancing, screening, and wearing of face masks were observed within the precinct of Parliament, with only a few dozen members allowed in the main chambers. Among bills prioritized include the amendments to the tax law to bring into effect the stimulus package announced by the President to help cushion Kenyans from the economic impact of the coronavirus pandemic, lowering value-added tax from 16% to 14%.
Desperate times calls for desperate measures. The usually vibrant and social legislative assembly on Tuesday was scanty and spread out as the novel coronavirus continues to redefine how Kenyans live, work and socialize. To ensure enough social distancing, only a few dozen members were allowed sitting in the main chambers, while others were accommodated in the members' lounge and tents set up at the lawns.
One of your guidelines was anybody above 58 years should not appear in the chambers. And I'm seeing here Honorable Kimunya, I am seeing here Honorable Bokose. These are octogenarians who should be at home, Mr. Speaker. We don't want to lose any member of Parliament, Mr. Speaker.
I want to bring to the attention of the Honorable Member, Mr. Speaker, even in your guidelines, Mr. Speaker, it was clearly said that may, not must. So you are encouraged, but you are not stopped.
Mr. Speaker, I am seeing so many empty seats.
Yeah.
And members have confirmed, and this is not good. For these members who confirmed should be known. And I think, Mr. Speaker, I'll ask your discretion to allow other members who are somewhere and who really want to participate to take those seats.
The National Assembly approved the establishment of the COVID-19 Emergency Response Fund, which will supplement the government's efforts to stem the spread of the coronavirus.
Having been satisfied that the statutory instrument, that is the order, is in compliance with the Constitution, the Interpretation and General Provisions Act, the Value Added Tax, and the Statutory Instruments Act, this committee recommends to this House that the instrument actually be approved.
The MPs also approved an alteration of legislative calendar to meet every Wednesday at 10 a.m. in line with the Ministry of Health directive advising Parliament to sit once a week. Parliament is also expected to consider proposed amendments to the tax law aimed at economically cushioning Kenyans against the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. For Channel 1 News, I am Edward Kabasa.
From the National Assembly to the Senate, where a meeting between the Senate Ad Hoc Committee on COVID-19 and the Ministry of Health top brass officials aborted this afternoon after the Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe failed to show up. The committee, chaired by Nairobi Senator Johnson Sakaja and held online, resolved to reschedule the session pending availability of the Cabinet Secretary, saying he is crucial to the legislative process and to approve financial support for combating the coronavirus pandemic.
The agenda is simple. It's meeting with the Cabinet Secretary for Health and the chairperson of the National Emergency Response Committee.
The 2 p.m. online meeting convened by the Senate Ad Hoc Committee on COVID-19, chaired by Johnson Sakaja, aimed at hearing firsthand the state of the novel coronavirus pandemic in the country. This information was expected to be conveyed by Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe, but he did not turn up. He was instead represented by a team from the ministry, a situation the 7-member ad hoc committee was not comfortable with.
Bwana CS, you can represent the CS in capacity as administratively committee. Some of the questions we have, especially for today, are centered around your ministry. But when we looked at this issue, we broke it into 5 thematic areas, which include economic and finance issues, food and water, social justice, public order, and other auxiliary issues that are supporting services that would need the answer from the response committee. So do you have written responses right now that have been signed by the CS?
We have the document completed. The only thing that is not there is the signature of the CS.
Documents are signed for ownership.
The Sakaja-led team then resolved to postpone the meeting until the Cabinet Secretary is available. This as the committee is expected to table a Pandemic Response and Management Bill 2020 in the Senate. The bill is seeking the establishment of county COVID-19 pandemic response committees that will implement strategies and measures as directed by the National Committee. Additionally, the county committees will promote civic education and public awareness on the pandemic. The bill also proposes establishment of a pandemic response fund to mobilize resources towards containing the spread and impact of the disease. The proposed legislation also suggests socio-economic interventions, including introduction of tax measures to cushion affected persons for the duration of the pandemic. If the bill is passed in Senate and ascended to by the President, then it will be a reprieve to millions of Kenyans on safety and provision of services. The funds injected to county governments will boost stability on the fight against COVID-19. Irene Mchuma Odim, Channel 1 in the county of Nairobi.
And elsewhere, workers at the port of Mombasa have threatened to down their tools until the Kenya Port Authority put in place effective preventive measures to combat the COVID-19 pandemic. Dock Workers Union Secretary General Simon Sang, at the same time, has demanded mass testing of all workers at the port, claiming that the biggest chunk of total confirmed cases in Mombasa County is from the port. And as Njue Karisa reports, majority of Port of Mombasa workers are currently in anxiety mode following the recent death of their colleague due to the COVID-19 disease.
The sudden death of KPA employee James Oyugi on Sunday has sparked panic among port workers at the Port of Mombasa. At least 45 closest contacts from Oyugi's office have already been placed under mandatory quarantine. According to a statement from KPA management, 7 workers have so far tested positive since the onset of the pandemic. 4 of the cases, according to the statement signed by Acting Kenya Ports Authority Managing Director Rashid Salim, are staff from Kenya Ports Authority, while 3 are said to be contracted cleaners working at the port. The state of affairs alleged to have been contributed to the lack of effective liable measures to curb the spread of the virus.
Wale ambao wameambukizwa kwenye eneo hili la Mombasa County, 30% ni wale wafanyakazi wa port. Na hilo ni jambo ambalo ni inashtua sana, na tungetaka situation where tukikosa kuchukua haya mapendekezo I mean, it is very possible kuona watu 1,000, why wameambukizwa from the port alone.
Dock Workers Union claim the management may be downscaling the numbers to save face, noting the overwhelming situation at the Port Health Center.
Pata report in the morning ya kwamba wale wahudumu wa bandari, wale nurses and the clinical officers pamoja na madaktari, kuna wengine ambao wametengwa kwa sababu ya hili jambo. Na sasa wale wachache ambao wamebaki, kwa sababu tumefunga, one of the clinics has been closed. Sasa imebaki moja ambao wanashare na familia zao. So ile msongamano pia, if we are not very careful, inaweza kuwa another source of spreading the disease.
The Union Secretary General is now calling for mass testing of the workers, particularly those handling cargo in and out of the port.
Hapa mlangoni hatungetaka tena watu waendelee na kushikashika hiyo mlango ya kusungushwa. Tunataka hiyo mlango iwe wazi so that watu wakiingia ndani wanaonyesha port pass wakiingia. Tunataka pia ile mambo ya clocking in a centralized place iwe decentralized. Tuwe na karibu eneo 100. Kila wafanyikazi waende kwa supervisor yao, warekodi ya kwamba wameingia kazini, wamefanya kazi na wanatoka kazini.
The union is now threatening to call its members to go on strike in 3 days' time if the port's management doesn't take measures to stop the spread of the virus.
Hatukatai kazi, but kama itabidi kunini kuachana na kazi kwa sababu ya kuhofia maisha yetu, then we have no choice.
Kenya Ports Authority has, however, said it has instituted a committee to coordinate the port's preparedness of the pandemic. Some of the measures KPA has put in place is the fumigation of its offices, designating Bandari Clinic as an isolation center, and temporarily suspending ship crew change, as well as the discharge of garbage from incoming vessels. Juni Karisa, 4 News Hour from Mombasa County.
And the county government of Mandera says it's running short of COVID-19 testing kits to facilitate screening of individuals quarantined in the region. Mandera County Governor Ali Roba says timely testing needs to be done for people who came into contact with 4 confirmed cases in the county. These and other stories in our county news roundup.
Mandera County is feeling the effects of the coronavirus with fresh 4 cases confirmed. It is now emerging that the county is short of testing kits to screen persons who came into contact with the 4 people, and the county now risks fast spreading of COVID-19 in the region. In Busia, a section of boda operators have been warned against disobeying the government's directive on the movement of people and vehicles across the busy Kenya-Uganda border for 30 days as a measure to contain the spread of coronavirus. Teso South Boda Association chairperson Lenny Omeri said the association will not arbitrate for the arrests of any of its members for defying the government's directive. Elsewhere in Narok, a charitable organization has come to the aid of widows facing the pinch of the coronavirus pandemic. Narok Peace Association has donated foodstuff, cooking oil, soap and clothes to widows and some marginalized groups in the country currently facing hard economic times following restrictions of the movement in the country. Kisii County Emergency Response Committee on Coronavirus has in the meantime instituted additional measures to contain spread of the disease. Area County Commissioner Stephen Kihara and Governor James Njue cited keeping travel manifest by public service vehicles and deployment of personnel at entry points to the county to screen travelers as the new measures.
We must work as a team and accept the agenda is to ensure all of us we are safe.
In other stories, 15 persons have been arrested in embattled Nkarao area in Transmara West Sub-County following a fracas that has been experienced in the area in the last 1 week. Narok County Commissioner Samuel Kimiti said 10 people were arrested for failing to observe the 4 to 7 p.m. curfew hours put by the government, while 5 others were those suspected to be fueling the conflicts. In Nairobi, police have arrested 4 people suspected to have been involved in the theft of electronic goods on transit worth 120 million shillings. The goods were recovered hidden in a basement of a house in Imara Daima Estate. According to the police, the electronics was stolen while on transit from Jomo Kenyatta International Airport to the CBD. Yusuf Farah, Channel 1 News.
Live from the broadcasting house here in Nairobi, we are taking a short breather, but when we come back, it's business news, and there is some reprieve at the pump. I will be coming up with all the details shortly.
next on.
Nikwambia hapa ndani kama nani? Na maana sio wewe alokufuata huko ndani. Hata dada mimi ninafanya kumuona sasa hivi alivyoingia. Zuena. Huyu mtu simtaki hapa kwangu. Rajabu.
Tutaonana siku nyingine.
Sawa inshallah.
Wapi pesa? Pesa.
Afadhali sana na kuomba. Kuanzia leo, kuanzia dakika hii usikanyage tena kwangu.
Tujeni kazi zenu
Embakasi Utawala tuko locked. Ungem Utanyaururu Kasuku Massive.
Jeshi ya Nyeri Coast Maua na Kura kwa locked mbaya.
Kigumo Ward na ambao wote wako ndani ya KBC Channel 1.
Akulaliki Wednesday bila the ref.
Mbotela Auta Idara Kitengela.
Kiambu County 33 Pipeline Meru anawakilisha.
Rongai Maboxa pale go down. Karatina Auta Mlolongo wana enjoy show. Lare Sub County Auta Githurai 45 Planet Barracks tuko ndani yake. Okongo Auta Carnation Maragwa Seti Nairobi.
Fika wako locked mbaya sana.
Watu wangu wa Nakuru Ngwaro.
Auta Gilgil live kutoka Mazeras Bahati Massive. Embo Thika Massive. Siaya Shikambi Kakamega Bungoma County.
Kusia Boda Kisumu City. Malindi yote iko ndani ya the ref.
When I'm in Kenya, I tune in to the rave. Get your mind brave, focus, conscious.
Kenya,
East Africa.
Right.
Keep it locked.
Calling out to
Welcome back. Let's now make sense of shillings and cents, where the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority has significantly reduced the pump prices for super petrol and kerosene, signaling a lower cost of living over the next 1 month. A litre of super petrol has reduced by 18 shillings, while kerosene is down 18 shillings and 18 cents. Diesel, which reduces by a lower margin of 4 shillings and 9 cents, will now be more expensive than super petrol. As Betty Kiptum narrates, pump prices would have reduced by a bigger margin were it not for a depreciated shilling that lost 2.7 shillings percent to the dollar.
Crude oil prices have nearly halved from a high of $69.25 per barrel to $35.58 per barrel in March. On the other hand, the shilling has been weakening against the dollar from a low of 100.97 in January, 101.27 in February to 104.05 in March. This has eaten into the reductions in pump prices that Kenyans would have enjoyed. Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority has reduced the pump price of a litre of super petrol by 18 shillings, while kerosene is down 18 shillings and 18 cents. However, a litre of diesel has been reduced by a lower margin of 4 shillings and 9 cents. The Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority attributes the latest pump price reductions to lower landed costs of the petroleum products. The pump price reductions would have been by a wider margin were it not for the shilling that weakened 2.75% to the dollar, hitting 104.05 to the greenback. Fuel will be cheapest in Mombasa, where a litre of super petrol will retail at 90 shillings 40 cents, diesel at 95 shillings 9 cents, while kerosene is 74 shillings 82 cents. In Nairobi, a litre of super petrol will retail at 92 shillings 87 cents, diesel at 97 shillings 56 cents, while kerosene is 77 shillings 28 cents. Fuel will be most expensive in Mandera, where a litre of super petrol goes for 105 shillings 91 cents, diesel costs 110 shillings 60 cents, and kerosene is at 90 shillings 32 cents. Betty Kiptum, Channel 1 Business.
Now, you will not be listed on a credit reference bureau if you fail to repay a loan of 1,000 shillings or less. This is according to the new CRB issued Tuesday by the Central Bank of Kenya that have ordered the delisting of loan defaulters who owe lenders 1,000 shillings or less. The central bank has further barred unregulated digital lenders from listing defaulters on CRB after numerous complaints from the public about the misuse of information by the lenders. Elsewhere, Cooperative Bank has become the first listed lender to announce that it is paying dividends to shareholders before the annual general meeting, which offers the shareholders an opportunity to endorse the proposed dividends. The listed lender says it plans to pay shareholders a total of 5.9 billion shillings in dividends on Thursday next week.
Cooperative Bank proposed to pay 1 shilling per share in dividends after the lender posted 14.3 billion shillings in 2019 full-year net profit, representing a 12.6% increase on the previous year's earnings. The lender said it plans to pay shareholders the proposed dividends on Thursday next week. This makes Cooperative Bank the first lender to pay shareholders dividends. In a statement, Cooperative Bank says, with the current COVID-19 challenges, the critical need to release the much-needed funds to the grassroots in the over 15 million member cooperative movement are in line with the Capital Markets Authority guidelines. The bank is progressing to make the dividend payment for ratification at the next annual general meeting. The lender expects the dividend payout to offer a most timely relief and a boost to ongoing efforts to mitigate the severe economic hardships caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. Cooperative Bank is appeal to all Kenyans and other people of goodwill to join hands in the fight against COVID-19. The lender made a cash contribution of 100 million shillings to the COVID-19 Emergency Response Fund. Other institutions that have contributed to the kit include that offered 7.3 billion shillings from unreturned old 1,000 shillings notes, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions and the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, who donated 2 billion shillings recovered from graft cases, and other private sector firms and philanthropists such as Jack Ma, who donated 20,000 test kits, 100,000 masks and 1,000 medical protective suits and face shields.
And traders at Kangangi Market in Kiambu County say demand for produce has drastically reduced due to travel restrictions put in place to contain the spread of coronavirus. Even though they have in place sanitation measures, the traders told our reporter Fiona Shuru that the number of customers visiting the market is much lower.
Tuesday is a market day at Kangangi Market in Kiambu County, where sellers and buyers flock the market to buy, amongst others, fresh produce. However, when we visited, things were slow and buyers are scarce as social distancing has been enforced in the market. As the government intensifies measures to fight COVID-19, here in open marketplaces, traders have not been able to get good of their money as they depend highly on markets out of town. We're talking about Tinganga, Ndumberi and Ikino, amongst others. 70-year-old Pauline Waithera says despite efforts by traders to make the market hospitable in terms of hygiene and safety, the number of buyers has drastically reduced, which is affecting earnings.
Nastahili hata customer tunamfundisha vile akikuja asinikaribie na mimi nisimukaribie. Na ndio naona tulibadilisha viwanda vyetu iko na distance ukimuuzia na yeye akinunua. Hata hakuna watu. Tunakaa tu hivyo bila watu wa kununua, hakuna, ni mmoja anapita hivi, tunakaa mpaka jioni, hakuna watu. Iko chini kabisa. Hakuna kitu inaenda vile inatakikana. Sasa hakuna, watu wanaogopa. Wanaambiwa wakae nyumbani lakini wanakaa.
Some buyers have embraced the government's recommendation of using mobile money transfer service to make purchases, which is a challenge for the not tech-savvy traders.
Ni ngumu juu kuna lockdown. Kama juzi wamekuwa wamefunga ile route ya Dumberi. Na sana sana watu wenye wanakula hizi vitu ni wale watu wanafanya biashara town, wanakuja Kiambu, mtu akielekea nyumbani Dumberi ama Tinganga ama Ikino. Sasa saa zile walikuwa wamefungiwa pale Dumberi, ilikuwa ni ngumu sana kwao kutoka huko kukuja mpaka huko ama kuelekea town. Sasa inakuwa ni kama wao walikuwa wananunua sasa zenye ziko huko sasa kwa kijiji. Kama hawako wanakuja soko.
Some hope that coronavirus would soon be contained so that authorities can ease travel restrictions and normalcy returns.
A lot has been said, but I think it has not sunk in to many people, because I am seeing in many places where people are not observing the social distance. And it would be very bad if the government will have to say that these businesses will have to stop because they are not observing social distance.
Fiona Shuru for Channel 1 Business News.
And things are looking rosy for the horticulture industry, with some key markets easing restriction on travel, helping lift shipment of flowers. The Kenya Flower Council says demand for horticultural produce now stands at 3,500 tons per week, but the available cargo capacity is 1,300 tons due to grounding of flights across the world. But this is changing as airlines turn passenger planes into cargo planes, a move that has seen Emirates introduce twice weekly dedicated cargo flights on its passenger aircraft between Nairobi and Dubai.
Travel restrictions saw airlines reduce frequencies or ground flights across major markets, reducing cargo space dramatically and also reducing demand for Kenya's third largest foreign exchange earner, horticulture produce. The Kenya Flower Council says sale of cut flowers in the past month were below 35%. Things, however, seem to be looking up as demand picks up, helped by key markets easing travel restrictions. Now, a new challenge has presented itself: the lack of freight. Prior to the outbreak, the capacity available per week was at 5,000 tons. Now the capacity is 1,300 tons for all commodities comprising flowers, vegetables and fish, yet the demand is 3,500 tons. The sudden decline in demand in the international markets and the fact that most exporters stopped shipping forced most carriers to reduce or cancel flights. The decline in passenger flights globally led to a rise in demand for freighters. The Kenya Flower Council says airlines have increased their rates tremendously, currently with cargo rates between Nairobi and most market destinations tripling. Easing of travel restrictions has seen Emirates Sky Cargo introduce twice weekly dedicated cargo flights on its passenger aircraft from Nairobi to Dubai. The airline has established the short-term schedule, which utilizes the belly hold capacity on its wide Boeing 777-300ER passenger aircraft to supplement the cargo capacity offered by its freighter aircrafts from Nairobi and Eldoret. Between mid-January and mid-March 2020, Emirates Sky Cargo transported more than 1,600 tons of perishables from Nairobi to Dubai. Betty Kiptum, Channel 1 Business.
Elsewhere, the Kenya Revenue Authority has introduced online alternative dispute resolution sessions enabling taxpayers with disputes to get solutions. The facilities bring together the taxpayer, the assessing commissioner, and a facilitator who chairs the session, as would happen in a face-to-face alternative dispute resolution session. Here are the details of these and other stories in our corporate brief.
The online alternative dispute resolution sessions are cost-effective and convenient to taxpayers as they cover a larger geographical area with the option of multiple individuals at different locations dialing in. The Deputy Commissioner for Tax Dispute Resolution, Rispa Simiyu, says the online sessions are conducted through teleconferencing technology applications such as Zoom, Skype or Google Hangouts. Alternative dispute resolution was rolled out in June 2015 to complement litigation by providing amicable and timely settlement of tax disputes. During the 2018-2019 financial year, there were 502 alternative dispute resolution applications, 237 cases with a revenue yield of 8.1 billion shillings were resolved. Meanwhile, Facebook has partnered with the government to keep Kenyans safe and informed about COVID-19 through updates and educational pop-ups about the virus on its platform. Facebook East Africa Head of Public Policy, Masindegwa, says the service will provide information on topics such as coronavirus prevention and symptoms, the latest number of cases in the country, advice on staying at home, travel advisory and myth-busting.
We are trying to make sure that people have access to accurate information as quickly as possible by making sure that those institutions of government, for example, the ministries of health, have the first places people go to or see when they're looking for information about COVID-19.
Ndegwa further says Facebook is working to cut the amount of engagement with fake news, as this can lead to imminent harm.
We know there are people who come onto the platform with information that may be misleading in regards to what one can do to get cured and so on. So there's a lot of information, for example, that we may have come across of false cures or someone trying to promote ads that will sell products that are meant to maybe keep people away from catching COVID-19 and things like that we are addressing by removing.
Finally, AAR Insurance has bounced back to profitability, posting 517 million shillings in 2019 full-year profit, up from a loss of 253 million shillings the previous financial year. The profit was driven by income from fees and commissions, which rose from 32 million shillings to 586 million shillings, owing to new reinsurance arrangements placed. AAR Insurance Kenya Managing Director Nixon Shigoli attributed the overall improved performance to a realignment of the business to focus on enhanced efficiency, product innovation, and expanding into new market segments. Net claims fell by nearly half to 1.7 billion shillings as a result of improvement in technology and efficiency in claims processing, while gross written premiums increased by 4.5% to 5.9 billion shillings.
Moving on, Chinese telecoms company Huawei has told the UK not to go back on its decision to give the company a limited role in building the country's new 5G data network after the coronavirus pandemic. In an open letter, the firm's Vice President Victor Zhang said that keeping Britain connected is the biggest contribution Huawei can make to the UK's national effort against coronavirus. Here are those details and other stories from across the borders.
Chinese telecoms company Huawei has said that disrupting its involvement in the rollout of 5G would do Britain a disservice. In January, the UK government approved a limited role for Huawei in building the country's new data networks. But in March, a benchmark rebellion within the Conservative Party signaled efforts to overturn the move. In an open letter, Huawei's UK chief Victor Zhang says home data use has increased by at least 50% since the virus first hit the UK, placing significant pressure on telecoms systems. Zhang further says the current crisis has highlighted how many people, especially in rural communities, are stuck in a digital slow lane, warning that excluding Huawei from a future role in 5G would be a mistake. Meanwhile, delivery men are helping both customers and businesses in Rio de Janeiro and other major Brazilian cities by minimizing people's exposure to the virus and helping businesses stay open amid the COVID-19 outbreak. Being a delivery driver has also allowed many people unable to work from home and have been laid off to make money. In late March, all restaurants and bars were ordered to close on-site consumption, but they still can sell food and beverages through home delivery. A bakery in the city would have also shut down if it wasn't for the door-to-door service. Delivery men say 80% of their earnings are from delivery apps. Finally, the International Monetary Fund has approved immediate debt relief for 25 member countries to help them address the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. According to the IMF Managing Director, Kristalina Georgieva, the grants will be given to the poorest and most vulnerable member states to cover their IMF debt obligations for 6 months. The grants are part of the IMF's Catastrophe Containment and Relief Trust, aiming to benefit low-income countries during catastrophic natural disasters and major fast-spreading public health emergencies. The IMF Managing Director said the Catastrophe Containment and Relief Trust can currently provide about $500 million in grant-based debt service relief, thanks to the new pledges from Britain, Japan, China, and the Netherlands and others.